Jordyn Woods gets a Porsche, and an expensive Porsche at that, from her boyfriend Karl-Anthony Towns for Christmas. Now, if we're talking about like for Christmas presents, that's a pretty amazing Christmas present, but there's a lot of things wrong with this situation and this present. And honestly, this is probably one of the main reasons why pro athletes go broke. But let's get right into it. So, Karl-Anthony Towns may have been away from girlfriend Jordyn Woods on Christmas this year, but their Timberwolves star made the holiday super sweet. By the way, that's a nice looking Porsche. So on Saturday, Woods revealed that Towns had gifted her a Porsche among other luxury goods for Christmas days after the 26-year-old entered the NBA's COVID-19 health protocols. WTF? Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. I thought last night was enough, and then I woke up to this. My forever Santa, I love you at Carl Towns. I'm speechless. You never fail to make me feel like a queen. WTF the Brown, we talked about with the rose gold too, Woods exclaimed on Instagram. So basically, this wasn't like a surprise gift, right? But also, you got to think about it too, right? If this guy ended up just getting into the NBA's COVID-19 health protocols, that also probably means that he's not actually working right now, meaning he's not really playing games, which means that he's not actually bringing in crap tons of money. So that's, not a really good sign. Now, again, I'm not really too familiar with the NBA and how they end up working, but you got to understand that a lot of the NBA players, right? A lot of them go broke, like a lot, especially if they do not get another contract. So, in addition to a Porsche, Karl-Anthony Towns also appeared to give Jordyn Woods a piece from Louis Vuitton. I'm so sad this is the second year in a row that COVID prevented us from being together on Christmas, but your presence was felt, she continued. Towns, who celebrated his first dating anniversary with Woods, 24, in May, gifted his model gal pal a Porsche Taycan, which can start at $82,700 per Porsche's website. But the thing is, because of the specific color choices and rose gold, all that kind of stuff, right? The extra stuff, this is like a six-figure plus Porsche, right? This is more like a 125, $150,000 Porsche. So Woods later expressed her gratitude for Towns in another Instagram story, joking, "I think I think I'm gonna have to pop the question." So the fact that there's more in the mail, I think I'm gonna have to pop the question, ladies, with an engagement ring. Joke, I'm not about that life, but for real, WTF at Carl Towns. Bend the knee with the Game of Thrones chick. Towns also revealed on Instagram that he and Woods unwrapped their gifts together virtually, with the latter keeping her fingers crossed for a COVID free Christmas in 2022. My Santa may be apart for 2 years in a row because of this virus, but not again next year, she commented on his post. Towns has lost multiple family members to COVID 19, including his mother, Jacqueline Cruz, during an October 2021 appearance on Facebook Watch's Peace of Mind with Taraji. Towns revealed to host Taraji P. Henson how Woods helped him through a difficult time. "I feel like, in a way, when my mom passed, she said, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to make sure you know who you're supposed to be with," Towns said. Woods, who lost her father to cancer in 2017, also understood how Towns was feeling. "I leaned on her because she's one of the only people who actually know how I was feeling and what I was going through, because she was super close with her father, just like I was super close with my mother," Towns said. Woods and Towns made their relationship public in September 2020. Now, again, This is the thing that you gotta understand. Like, look, there is nothing wrong, like, at his income level, right? There's nothing wrong with, him giving, like, an expensive gift to someone that he cares about, right? The only thing is, this gets into a really questionable situation where, like, you're more likely going to be going down the path of continuously buying someone very expensive gifts to the point where they are going to get accustomed to that lifestyle. And if, let's say that you're having a few bad years, are they going to be okay with you downgrading that lifestyle? Like, that's a risk, right? Number two, let's say that you don't end up actually getting another contract because maybe something bad happens, maybe you get into an accident, maybe you turn into a cripple, maybe your performance just isn't good enough anymore to get another contract, right? That means that all the money that you spend on these super expensive gifts are basically done and out, right? But let's put it this way to get, like, more accurate information. So let's see. So Karl-Anthony Towns, copy Karl-Anthony Towns. Let's see. Contract. Because this is typically public information. Okay, so blah 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 blah. So Karl-Anthony Towns 2021 salary and contract. Let's see. So this compromises of a 158 million 253,000 guaranteed minimum salary. Well, wait, whoa, whoa. What? How much money? Wow. Okay, so this guy's been playing basketball for, I guess, for a while. Okay, so he's actually been making a lot of money. So apparently, like, his career earnings basically is up to like 158,253,000 dollars, right? And that's the guaranteed minimum salary that he actually got. And his annual average salary is 31,650,600 dollars. So Karl-Anthony Towns' net worth is 156,547,688. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so he currently plays position center for Minnesota Timberwolves in the National Basketball Association. The top, blah 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 blah. So in 2021, 2022, Towns is earning a yearly wage of 31,650,600 dollars, costing the Minnesota Timberwolves a 31,650,600 total cap hit. Okay. Okay, so basically, he is roughly getting about $30 million per year for the past few years. Okay, so he's been making really good money, which is actually really amazing. This actually makes it a lot easier because, look, if you're someone in his position, right, where you're making this amount of money consistently and is exponentially basically growing, right? I mean, there was like literally from like the career year 2018, 2019 to 2019, 2020, there's like a 20 million plus increase in his wage, which is like amazing. But here's the thing, even though he's making a lot of money, we don't know what his expenses are. And there has been so many reports of like NBA players who have made like over $300 million for their lifetime salary guaranteed, that literally lost it all and resorted to like petty crimes or like white collar crimes to try to like live a certain lifestyle, right? Because here's the thing, if this guy manages money well, right? He could secure his life and potentially his future wife's life if he ends up marrying her very well, right? But it's kind of a situation like this. Like now that I know like how much money he's basically made lifetime, which you could just pretty much have it just to get like a guess of like how much money he actually has because you got to pay taxes and the whole tax system dealing with like athletes is so complicated. But let's just say like, let's just round it up to like what 160 million for guaranteed. So let's just have that for like 80 million dollars just to keep things super 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 simple. We're not like going down into the weeds about this, right? But this is just basically to give an example, right? So let's say that he has like actually 80 million dollars after everything's said and done, right? If he ends up marrying Brown, right, or the girl, right, in this story, his girlfriend right now, if he ends up marrying her, it's a situation where he's going to have a prenup, right? Just because the sheer difference in net worth is so massive, he can't put himself and his future kids at risk because of this, right? So that's something to really understand as well. Because sometimes one of the biggest financial choices that you could ever make is the person that you marry and how you marry them. I mean, you could pretty much look at the situation with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is getting his cheeks clapped by the whole divorce situation. So you got to be very careful, right? Now, because of how much money he's actually making, him buying this like $100,000 car for his girlfriend is basically like the equivalent of one of us normies basically buying a $1 cookie, right? Like it's such a discrepant like it's so meaningless in terms of how much money we actually have in terms of like ratio. But even though it's perfectly fine for him to do something like that financially and it will literally not have any impact on his life, it can add up, right? So if he does this multiple times a year, buying a car multiple times a year, that will eat up his money, right? Especially if he's not investing his money. If he's investing his money and his investments are producing like 500K to $1 million every single year, then he could just spend that money and not really care about it. But that's if he's actually doing that. If this is just all like money that he's getting in and then it's going right out, you gotta be very careful, right? And even though financially he can do this, when it comes down to if he ends up actually marrying her, he has to be extremely careful, regardless of how much someone trusts another person. When there's such a huge discrepancy in net worth, you have to protect yourself with a prenup. And you have to make it very clear, right? Because if you don't get a prenup, that $100,000, $1 cookie equivalent kind of thing is going to end up turning into goodbye millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, right? It's going to be extremely costly. And again, even though he's making a lot of money, if you keep upgrading someone's lifestyle to a certain extent, they will get like accustomed to it and it's going to be very hard for them to end up basically scaling back if they need to, right? So, for example, if he ends up getting himself and his girlfriend accustomed to like $1 million cost of living lifestyle every single year, but let's say his salary ends up dropping under $1 million, well, that's going to be a pretty big issue. So it's unlikely for that to necessarily happen just because it seems like he's doing very well based off his lifetime earnings, right? But you have to understand, it's very easy for these pro athletes to spend all their money because they think that it's going to last forever, right? Because again, we don't know their expenses. This guy could very easily be spending every single cent that he makes every single year. I hope he's not doing that. I hope he has like a financial advisor, someone like advising him, not necessarily telling him what to do, but someone to just basically be like, hey, here's some suggestions that you could go and do on your own. Put your money, set it up like this and like this, have a Roth IRA, have a 401k, make sure you invest into real estate that you could control, have eyes on it, all that kind of stuff. Be like very careful, like be very conservative in terms of his like investments. Because the thing is, when you get your money to a certain extent, like this individual, right? Like he's already rich, right? The question is, how is he able to stay rich for the rest of his life, right? Because he's already became rich once. You don't want to have to get rich again. You want to stay rich for the rest of your life and turn that rich into being super duper wealthy, like generational wealthy. So I just hope he ends up being very careful with his finances. I hope him the best. I hope him and his girlfriend the best, and that hopefully, if they do end up getting married, he ends up having a prenup. They agree to it. They talk about their finances very thoroughly and their expectations of one another and that relationship, and they have a very long and healthy life. Because here's the thing, you want them to do well, you want anyone to do well, right? But we have seen, based off history, that, like, wait a minute, there's a lot of pro athletes who make a lot of money in terms of career earnings. We're talking like 300 million plus that literally like lost everything due to divorce and lifestyle. So be very, very careful, right? Because again, the person you marry can be one of your most important financial decisions, and how you live your lifestyle can also determine how long you can live that lifestyle. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money in a very simple way, go to 40inbox.com and feel free to give your own thoughts about this situation. Now, some people might stumble upon this and basically say like, hey, how is it possible that this guy's making like 25 million a year, but he's going to go broke? The thing is, there are a lot of guys right now who are making this kind of money and are broke, right? And it's so sad. Like, you got to think about it. Like, there are people who signed their first pro athlete contract who literally spend hundreds of grand on clothing in a single year. Okay? Just keep that in mind. That is something that happens. Okay? So just think about it. If it makes any amount of sense to spend multiple six figures on clothing, okay? But there's a lot of pro athletes that do that, especially in the NBA, because for some reason they really like fashion and they just splurge like crazy on this stuff. Stuff that literally has no value to it other than what they paid for it at their initial sale, because after that point it's basically worthless. So just keep that in mind. NBA players specifically have a very bad habit of spending a lot of money on items that go down in value immediately.